All right, let's dive into one of the most famous opening chapters in all of American literature. We are going to deconstruct how F. Scott Fitzgerald, in just a few pages, builds this incredible world of secrets, introduces these unforgettable characters, and plants a mystery that, honestly, has captivated readers for a century. So, right from the jump, we meet our narrator, Nick Carraway, and we meet him through this piece of advice from his father. You can think of this sentence as the moral compass he's supposed to carry with him into this wild, extravagant, and often corrupt world he's about to enter. It sets him up immediately as our observer, someone who's meant to hold back, to reserve judgment, even when he's surrounded by people who almost never do. But here's what's so interesting about Nick's take on that advice. For him, reserving judgment isn't about being passive or wishy-washy. He sees it as an act of infinite hope. It's this belief that, hey, maybe people have their reasons, maybe there's more going on beneath the surface. And you know what? This quality is exactly what makes him the perfect person to hear all the incredible secrets we're about to uncover. So, who exactly is our guide on this journey? Well, Nick's a young guy from a pretty stable, well-off family back in the Midwest. He's feeling a little restless after the Great War, so he's moved out east in the summer of 1922. His plan? Make a fortune in the bond business. But what's really crucial here is that he's an outsider. He's our window into this glittering, totally strange new world. But hold on. Nick immediately throws a wrench in this whole tolerance thing. He admits, yeah, it has a breaking point. And the moral chaos he's about to witness, it's gonna disgust him in the end. But he makes one huge exception. Gatsby. The one man who represents everything Nick would normally look down on, but who possessed something he calls an extraordinary gift for hope, a kind of romantic readiness that just set him completely apart from everyone else. Now, you have to understand, the setting here is basically its own character. Nick rents this small, kind of overlooked bungalow in a place called West Egg, and he learns pretty fast that West Egg's whole identity isn't defined by what it is, but by what it isn't, and by what it's staring at from across a little bay. And this, right here, is the core social conflict of the novel, written right on the map. You've got East Egg, that's old money, the established aristocracy living in these graceful white palaces. And then you have West Egg, that's the new money territory. People with these enormous, kind of gaudy mansions who just got rich. It's a world of unwritten roles, and our guy, Nick, and his mysterious neighbor Gatsby are firmly on the less fashionable side of the water. Okay, so this is where the action really kicks off. Nick drives over to the fashionable East Egg for dinner. He's visiting his distant cousin, Daisy, and her super wealthy husband, Tom Buchanan. And this isn't just a friendly meal, you guys. This is our first real glimpse into the gilded cage, where the powerful and the careless live. The first person we meet is Tom Buchanan, and Nick's description of him is just immediately unsettling. He doesn't talk about Tom's nice suit or his fancy house. Nope. He focuses on his physicality, this raw, brute force that's just simmering under the surface. And he sums it all up with this one chilling phrase: a cruel body. So what's Tom's deal? He's a guy totally defined by his power: physical power, financial power, social power. But he's also a guy who peaked in college as a football hero, and he's been chasing that high ever since. That nostalgia fuels this deep arrogance, creating a man who is both kind of pathetic in his insecurity and frankly dangerous in his need to feel superior. When Nick finally walks into the house, the scene he finds is like something out of a dream. The breeze is blowing in off the bay, making the curtains and the white dresses of two women billow out like they're literally floating. It's this perfect, carefully constructed image of effortless grace. The women? They're his cousin, Daisy Buchanan, and her friend, Jordan Baker, who's a famous golfer. But underneath that beautiful floating surface is this deep, shocking cynicism. Later in the evening, Daisy tells Nick about when her daughter was born, and this is what she said she hoped for her own child. I mean, what a stunningly bleak thing to say. It just reveals a woman who feels completely trapped and powerless, even with all her incredible privilege. And this just raises the absolute central question about Daisy's character, doesn't it? Is her beautiful little fool thing a genuine cry of despair from inside her gilded cage? Or is it a masterful performance, an act designed to get sympathy and maybe let her off the hook for her own choices? It's a question the novel makes us wrestle with right to the very end. The ugliness that's been simmering just under the surface all evening, well, it finally boils over when Tom just launches into this racist tirade. He's been reading some white supremacist book, and he starts ranting about how the dominant race is in danger. It's a moment that completely shatters any illusion of high society class and just reveals the crude, fearful bigotry that's fueling his whole sense of entitlement. But Tom's racism isn't the only thing that disrupts this dinner party. Something else intrudes, and it cracks the carefully maintained facade of the Buchanans' marriage right down the middle. So, right in the middle of dinner, the telephone rings. A butler comes over, discreetly informs Tom, who gets up and leaves without a word. An awkward silence just falls over the entire table, and when Daisy follows him out of the room, you can practically feel the tension in the air. In that tense moment, Jordan Baker, the cool, aloof observer, leans over to Nick and just casually drops the bombshell that explains everything. The phone call isn't about business, it's Tom's mistress. And just like that, this revelation confirms the rot at the very core of the Buchanans' perfect life. And as if to really hammer the point home, the phone rings again, but this time it's more insistent. Nick describes its shrill metallic urgency. You see, the affair isn't some quiet little secret, it's an aggressive intruder. And under the strain of its presence, the whole evening just completely falls apart. Nick drives away from East Egg feeling, as he puts it, confused and a little disgusted. He gets back to the relative quiet of West Egg, leaving all that toxic drama behind him. But the night has one final, unforgettable mystery in store for him. As he's sitting outside his house, he suddenly realizes he's not alone. There's a figure, a silhouette, that's emerged on the lawn of the colossal mansion next door. Nick sees a man standing there, hands in his pockets, staring out, not at the stars, but across the dark water. For a second, Nick thinks about calling out, introducing himself. He realizes this must be the man himself, Mr. Gatsby, his mysterious neighbor. But there's something about the guy's posture, this sense of profound solitude, that makes him stop. And then, before Nick can say a word, Gatsby does this strange, memorable thing. He stretches his arms out across the bay. It's not a wave. It's like he's reaching for something just beyond his grasp. And Nick can see, even from a distance, that he's trembling with the intensity of it all. Nick's eyes follow Gatsby's gaze across the water to see what he's so focused on. And it's almost nothing, just a single, distant green light at the end of a dock. When Nick looks back to his neighbor's lawn, Gatsby has vanished into the darkness. And the chapter ends on this powerful, symbolic image, leaving us with a single, burning question. What on earth is this green light, and what does it represent for the man with the extraordinary gift for hope?